Welcome back, and our next guest I think you'll find to be pretty inspiring and interesting. Marsha Wright is with us. She's London-born entrepreneur, columnist, TV business expert, and strategic analysis expert, and she's authored a book entitled The Secret Collaborative Economy. And for those watching on the Dove TV, there's a picture of it on the screen, and I'm sure that you could probably get that off of Amazon or check it out at Barnes & Noble. So Marsha, nice to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be with you.
Where are we Skyping you in from?
I'm in Spain today, actually. I just between the UK and Spain a lot, and today I'm in Spain. In
Spain. Well, we got a great connection. Nice to have you with us.
I'm really happy about it myself. Yeah, it's really great to be with you. And I must say, I absolutely love what you guys are doing. What I've been listening. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon to me. I've been listening all day. I just love what you do.
Oh, well, thank you. Bless your heart. Well, listen, the collaborative economy, interesting title, and we are heading towards the 17th here, as you know, in the United States. I don't know if we're going to default or not. This whole thing's a political mess. What's your take?
I think you're right. That take is correct. The idea is, and the way that we feel watching it all is kind of like watching kids in a playground, sorry to say. And it's very, very sad that there's this position of nobody's really wanting to move on their side to try to get a resolution. But this is one of the things that happens when you have people who are in these kinds of positions of power, where actually you're holding quite very serious things to ransom in order to try to get your point. And it's, you know, playing a really dangerous game of chicken. There's a lot of people who are really affected by this. Families right across the states who are affected by this. And of course, the concerns are the ramifications globally as well. As we know, the stock markets are strengthened by confidence. And you did have a rally going towards the end of last week. Things were kind of, you know, becoming a little bit more buoyant, a little bit of a rally because there was an expectation that things would settle over the weekend. And of course, that hasn't taken place. So it's really concerning. But I think one of the things that, you know, people need to do is somehow find a way to take control of their own, you know, destinies and their own future, so that when turbulence takes place and when there are principalities, that you're not at the behest of that, and your life and your family's livelihood isn't at the behest of what the government's doing, because we can't control that.
That's very biblical, isn't it? We should trust God before man.
Absolutely. And I'm a born-again Christian. I don't know if you guys actually know that. My husband and I met about 10 days before we got saved. And we've been saved since 1998. So really, really excited and happy to share that, because from a position of really understanding where God wants you to be and somehow trying to marry that up, sometimes it feels like there's a bit of a difference. And you know, you said something earlier on about together we're changing lives for the good. And I think that it's really important to make sure that you're working in alignment, and everything is all about alignment with your business partners, alignment with God's will for your life, alignment in your household. Everything has to be in alignment. And sometimes, you know, what we're seeing is effectively an issue of alignment in the government. That's what we're seeing. And the problem is if we are now expecting others to be our source, then there's always going to be a problem. God doesn't want us to be in that position.
Right. I want to come back to the United States and this mess that we're in. In the past, we've been down this road before, and we seem to always solve this problem at the 11th hour. But this particular shutdown has different feeling to it, and you commented, does the world have confidence that the United States is going to get its act together? And I'm kind of getting the sense from you and others that the world now is beginning to worry about us.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if something happens, I mean, this is not, like you say, it's not the first time, but if something like this happens and it's 2 days and it's 3 days, I mean, there was always all this fear about what could happen if it did happen, and nobody really hoped it would. But it's almost like we've gone past that line now. So when is enough enough? Now, you've got a few days now until where the debt ceiling could Is it going to be raised? Is there going to be more concerns? There's meetings taking on with the IMF on the weekend. Everybody's saying, America, get your act together. And the fact of the matter is, it's not the American people. It's Capitol Hill. It's the people who are at the top who have to get that together. And again, I go back to this whole issue of alignment, that if people are in that position, and there's not a lot that people can do if they are now, at that point where they haven't got the finances, or they can't really pay their bills because things are, taking a long time, or they can't get a loan approved to grow or start their business. There's not much that you can do in that circumstances. You have to find the best out of the worst. But this is one of the things that I always talk about. There's always a good way to have a plan B when you're growing and when you're trying to develop. And I always say that families need to think about legacy as well as what they need to make today. And some of the time we're so focused on the issues of the day and the bits of today that we don't really focus on that legacy part. And as we know, there's a biblical principle of, leaving inheritance for your children's children. And so it's really important to start thinking, okay, this is a turbulence, but there was a turbulence in 2008, and there was a turbulence in the early .com period. There's always going to be something outside that you can't control. And I truly believe one of the most powerful things that happens to you as an individual is the point at which you stop doing things because you have to, and you start actually taking control of your life. And I truly believe that's God's desire for us, not to be in that position where we have to do something, because if we don't, we're at ruin. It's all about wisdom. It's all about using that as a principal tool. And, I think that's one of the things that led me to write this book, because it's taken me so long to get to that point where, using all the skills and the things that I've done to become successful and build my businesses, it's always been really important to help other people to do the same. And I just hate this whole idea of, being given fish. I like people to learn how to do their own fishing. And so I think that the book for me was this opportunity to give people, look, this is a tool, now go use it and create the destiny that you want to create, and create what you really put here on this planet to do, because we're only here once. And I think the time has to be most well used.
All right. So basically, explain what you mean by collaborative economy, because you're kind of hitting around it there, and that is we pull it all together, I guess is what you're saying. Well,
no, I guess yes, in a way, but then there's also another element to it as well. The Secret Collaborative Economy is the name of the book. But what it really talks about is how you can, as an individual or as a business owner, how you can actually create much more success by working with others in collaboration in a way that is, it works for both sides. It's a symbiotic relationship. So you might be able to do this, and you put something else with that, and then now together you can do so much more. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, your company has an event taking place, and you really want to get as many of the best possible customers who you can have coming to your event, but your database is only maybe 100 or 200 people. So what are you going to do? You're not going to really pack an event that way. So then you start looking for people who service the same audience, and then you say, can we do something together? So it's kind of like using the whole element of working together on specific tasks, on specific things that will help you do what you want to do. And I've done these relationships with people in Singapore, India, Africa, Australia, the UK, of course, the USA, loads. And this has worked incredibly well for my business, because we sit down and we say, what do we want to accomplish? How do we, what do we want to achieve? And then start realizing that we don't have to have all the answers. And sometimes we get into this situation where we believe we have to have all the right answers ourselves. But sometimes it's about getting other people who can bring something, iron sharpens iron, and bring something to the table. And the two of you together can get what you ultimately want, which are completely different things maybe, but working together, one person can do something easily whilst the other can't. And I think it's really being creative with that in your businesses. And I use that same principle to get my message, even for my book, out to 1 million people with zero advertising costs.
Wow. All right, let me take a quick break here, and when we come back, I understand that you are pretty high on families considering starting their own business, and I want you to comment on that. We'll be right back with Marsha Wright right after this.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at the Dove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on the Dove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and we are just so delighted to have Marsha Wright with us. In fact, we're Skyping her in from Spain. Look at that signal. Look at that smile. Wow. Cool. And she's the author of the book called The Secret Collaborative Economy. By the way, Marsha, where can people get the book?
Actually, they can get it from Amazon via my website, or just go straight to Amazon.com. Barnes & Noble as well, Nobu. So my website is www.marshawright.com, and lots of information and things about me there, and ways to communicate with me. Okay,
that's marshawright.com, and that's W-R-I-G-H-T. Well, yeah, you are pretty strong on families developing their own business, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a real big thing for me, because I think a lot of the time, my thought process is this, and it has been for so long, I can't remember when it began, but it was always that, why can't families work together? Why can't we do what used to be done, where you start a family business and it would be, handed over by, dynasty, and it would become a dynasty and handed over through the generations. And I guess, I still have that nostalgia for wanting that. And wanting to be able to see that. And I guess maybe some part of me felt that came from my being raised in a broken family. My father was in jail by the time I was 5 years old. And he was a businessman. And I just always said, oh, why did he have to do what he did? Because we could have been father and daughter in business. And I guess there's that part of me that's worked to help so many people. I've worked with thousands of people who are business owners who want to grow and do things that help benefit them, their families, as well as the community and their business and employees. But I started to say, well, what about if we could work with families? What about if families would be able to work together, and it wasn't just dad who was unavailable until 11 o'clock at night, it was the kids who were working along with it. So I'm really big on this whole concept of really involving family and trying to make something that is a holistic thing, that the family can have for many generations. And a lot of the time, generations of, success and generational blessings, they're just lost after one or two generations. So it's a real concern, and I think somebody needs to champion that.
Well, you got any examples that you've helped people with on family businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. Kids nowadays are born like they have a computer chip in their brain. Like my grandnephew is like 2.5. No, he just turned 3, and he can play computer games. It's freaky, and the thing is, it's always something for kids to do, and just to whatever the family's great thing area of success is. It doesn't even have to be a major business. Just get something started, something that the whole family can do. And there's so many different websites out there, like Fiverr and People Per Hour and Freelancer.com. All these different websites that people can actually put their business services out there for others. Let them bid for it, and you can do it at home as a family. But if you have an existing business, now's a great opportunity to start looking at ways that you could get your children or your cousins or nieces and nephews involved, and try to really build a family legacy, something that you can hand down, not just the financial side, but a legacy of faith and of love and of togetherness. And I think that's really disjointed in today's world. And I think it all comes back down to the whole element of collaboration, work together, let's do something together that really lasts.
I think that's just beautiful, because most of our economy today was built upon family businesses of yesterday.
Exactly.
It was certainly a collaborative effort from one generation to another. And sometimes passing a business to another generation can be a little tricky, but if they were raised in it, some of those transitions have been very smooth. In fact, they actually grow from that point on.
Yeah, and one of the things that actually leads to entropy is that when you expect somebody to just come and take things and learn it, and you try to make them want it, if you're really wanting to hand something from one generation to the next, you start the kids up early and you build them up in the area of philanthropy in the family and doing things that help other people, and let the older generation, the grandparents, the grand uncles and aunts, let the older generation work with the really, really young generation and teach them those real skills. That's just going to enrich their lives. As they grow and get into an age of understanding, then you can start saying, well, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself? And I myself don't have children, so I had this conversation with my own niece and said, where do you see yourself? She doesn't want to be a businesswoman, but she really, really wants to do philanthropy. And that's perfectly fine. Just find a place where they fit and make it all work as a family unit.
All right. Now, you are very strong in believing that there are no barriers. And as you well know, when you start off with things, you have a lot of obstacles and things to get over. Share with us your collaborative thinking on how to get past what would be otherwise considered barriers.
Okay, well, if we're talking about barriers in business, which I presume is what you mean, right, Perry?
Mm-hmm, right.
My thought process, this is how my head works, and I guess there's a part of me that's slightly anti-authoritarian, in that I don't like being told no. It doesn't really gel well with me. So I'm not a diva or anything like that, but I just think if this door's closed, there must be another one, unless God's blocking me, and then I don't go there. But basically, this is how I see it. If I need to get more clients, then where are the clients? How can I do that in a way that doesn't involve me trying to do things that I'm not skilled at? Who can I work with who already have access to that clientele? What value can I add to them? And I'm saying to you, I have done this in my business, and my clients have increased their revenues by as much as 400% using this same activity, this same angle, because it all comes from how can I add value to somebody else and they can add value to me? So what exposure can you get because your business does something that somebody else is looking for? And a lot of the time, people are just so insular. I always say to people, treat your office like it's a volcano. Get out of there. Because the longer you're in those four walls, the less you have the opportunity to see that there's a lot of opportunity out there and people truly want what you're selling, but they don't want to be sold at. So it's really good to go the angle of endorsement and work with people who can champion you and bring you forward.
Boy, that's beautiful. All right. What little time we have left, do you think there's hope for the average family in this world economy? I mean, that seems to be so repressive. And I don't care what country you're in. I think all countries are suffering a little bit now economically. What do you say?
I totally, there is hope. If I can go from living on, $8, I'm converting it in my head, it's about $8 a week for food between two adults, and be in the position that I am now and have made such great success. I've got such a large business portfolio. And if I can do that, there is absolutely hope. And I just really want to encourage people, get educated, really read. The average person reads one book a year. Read as much as you can. Study. Don't just study Christian books. Study as much as you can on the things that will give you the intelligence to realize that the wall that looks like there is in front of you when you're crying at night or when you can't do what you've got to do, and when you've got that wall in front of you, you don't even realize it's a paper wall and you can step right through it.
Wow. How encouraging. All right, so back to the United States. We're down to a couple of days left here as to whether or not we're going to, let me just say this. All numbers show that if we didn't raise the debt ceiling, we could still make the payment on the interest that is due for the United States debt. So I don't know if the rest of the world sees this, but the way we see it here in the United States, this is strictly political being played out at a level that we've never seen before. But there's enough money coming in to pay our bills, but we seem to think that we need more.
More, unfortunately, is the order of the day, because I think some of the policymakers are thinking, we don't want to say something that's now set in stone, and then in 6 months' time, things shift and we can't go back on what we've said, although that has some room for argument. But the truth of the matter is, I think that you're right. There's a lot of political positioning going on. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, in a sense, this feels like the nadir of the US government in today's world. In recent history, there's enough going on, and it just feels, look, guys, this is a bit self-imposed. Can you pull yourselves together? And I really hope that in the next couple of days, we start seeing some serious decisions being made. Even with Obamacare, people are very, very concerned about how that's going to affect their household incomes. Mm-hmm. So it's really this time where I really hope, and I can't say who is right, who is wrong, I'm not going to go there. But what I will say is this: I truly hope that the American people are able to get that stability back, because there's more than enough going on in the economy to create stress and to create issues with, confidence than this self-imposed problem. Let's get it together, guys.
Is the UK and Spain, your two backgrounds, is the UK and Spain worried about us at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading an article on The Guardian about an hour or so ago that came out a few hours ago, and it's calling the politicians squabbling like children, squabbling politicians. The concern here is, how is this affecting the global market? Everything is connected. It's not we're in the UK or we're in Spain or America. It's all connected. We are in many senses one world, especially when it comes to the financial market. So anything that's going on in the States indelibly has an effect on what's going on the rest of the world. And I think that's one of the situations where now governments from around the world, especially developing countries, are now saying, please get yourselves together, because this is affecting us as well. And I really think that there is that, that belief system kind of, this is a real messy situation. Yes, you guys want to argue, you want to, position yourselves, but you've got to get these finite issues sorted. And one of the other things is people need to really read the bills fully before they sign them. That's really important.
No. We sign them and read them later.
or put them by the bedside, and then they become like, something else, an extra mantelpiece,
Yeah, the famous line. Well, Marsha, you're a delight. How can people correspond with you and maybe learn more about you and your services?
Well, I'm absolutely happy to communicate with any of your viewers or listeners. I absolutely love communicating with people from all over the world. So if you use Twitter, then go ahead and send me a tweet message. I'll be on Twitter this afternoon right after this. My Twitter handle is @Marsha Wright. Alternatively, you can go to my website, which is www.Marsha Wright, which is MarshaWright.com, and I'm more than happy to communicate there. And if you don't use Twitter and you don't really like websites, but you have email, just go ahead and send an email, consulting@marshawright.co.uk. You don't have to buy a damn thing. I just want to help and really offer some guidance and so on if I can. Okay.
And the book is entitled The Secret Collaborative Economy. Check it out at Amazon as well. There's a picture for those watching on the Dove TV. The Secret Collaborative Economy, Marsha Wright, and you can check that at Amazon. Thanks, Marsha, and you're a delight.
So thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
You too. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at the Dove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.